I really hope that I can brag on silver by the time Friday gets here. I'll explain what I mean later in the video with regards to that, but nonetheless, today, silver did something pretty amazing, even though the prices have fallen. I'll explain why and how as we explore. $50 an ounce. That is the magic that silver is having today as it beat back a pullback below that number, closing almost. We're just a few minutes away from the market's closing. It looks like it's going to happen that silver will close today above $50 an ounce. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself here because there is a little bit of a pullback, and whenever there is a pullback, that's the time to think about buying precious metals. Your silver, because I do believe the prices are going to go up, but I could be completely wrong about that. And again, I'm going to explain why and how later in the video as to what I think might happen by Friday. But nonetheless, Summit Metals is a great company to deal with. They've got excellent customer service. They do have competitive pricing on certain products, but really it's about the service and the expedited shipping that they do now. They've really picked up their shipping pace. So check them out by clicking on the link in the description below. But silver is indeed down today. Here is where the metals complex lies for all of the metals. Everything is down slightly. Gold is down 0.9%, down $36.80 to $4,045.90, a $36.80 drop there. Silver is down 33 cents, almost 2/3 of a percentage point drop, to $50.26. It got down as low as $49.51 before recovering some of those losses. And silver as well had fallen. Gold as well has fallen much sharper. It was down to about $4,005.90. Platinum and palladium are also both down marginally. But what's going on here? Well, Reuters is reporting about the dollar index really starting to bolster up here. The dollar index, as I record this video, is up 0.24 to 99.56. That's a pretty big jump, and the precious metal prices really, in a sense, should be lower than that, considering how the dollar has jumped up here. And making that makes dollar-priced bullion, gold and silver, expensive for holders of other currencies. The market is seeing some back and forth choppy action ahead of what is expected to be a release of a deluge of economic data now that the U.S. government has reopened, according to David Meager, director of metals trading at High Ridge Futures. Now there is a lesser expectation for additional rate cuts, which has dented the optimism for gold, at least for now. The week's calendar includes a September jobs data on Thursday and minutes from the Fed's last meeting, where it cut rates by 25 basis points on Wednesday. Those numbers are coming out. Right now, the Fed watch tool really has not changed a whole lot. It's actually upticked slightly to about 44.9% chance that we will see another quarter-point rate cut. And I think that probably means that we may not get that rate cut in December, and the markets are betting that that's going to be the case right now. So that is what is happening there. Now, there's other situations to data that we're looking at as well as we see these numbers come out, and it includes a September jobs data that will come out on Thursday and minutes from the Fed's last meeting, as we talked about here. But the increasing number of Fed policymakers have maintained a hawkish stance on rate cuts for the central bank's next meeting in December, which means that they're going to probably leave rates unchanged. Traders are currently pricing in this, as we talked about, that 44.9% probability, but at the time of this article's publishing, it was 41%. And I think that uptick has changed the game here a little bit. That's of a 25 basis point rate cut in December. And Fed Vice Chair Philip Jefferson said the U.S. Central Bank needs to proceed slowly with any further interest rate cuts as it eases policy towards a level that would likely stop putting downward pressure on inflation. Safe haven gold tends to thrive in a low interest rate environment as it is a non-yielding asset. Scotiabank analysts estimated gold prices at $3,800 per ounce for 2026. That's pretty crazy compared with 34.50 of an ounce this year, citing certain economic conditions and an eventual decline in real interest rates. Well, if they're going to be declining, you would think that would be good for gold overall because it's a non-yielding asset. But nonetheless, very interesting. And of course, silver falling as well is what we're looking at. But it's fascinating to see how quickly things can change and really how resilient gold and silver, especially silver right now, is. I think that's remarkable to see it fall back below 50 and then climb back up above 50 comfortably for both the bid and ask price. And I think that if we could close above 50 today, and again, as I record this video, anything can happen within the next few minutes where it could just go right back under $50 again. But I don't think it will. I think we're going to close the day above 50, and that is a victory, even though it's fallen about 0.75 percentage point right now. There's a fight. There's a fight for silver to stay above $50 an ounce. It's a strong psychological number, but it beat it back, and that is a victory. And to me, that's amazing. And honestly, the fact that it did recover above that today and still being down and staying above $50 an ounce tells us something, that every single day that we see silver above $50, much like what I said when silver was flirting with $36 an ounce, that tells us something, that we've entered in a new age. So essentially, I'm looking for, hopefully, that we can see silver close every day above $50 an ounce from now till Friday. That's my hope. Now, I did a poll on my Sunday night market watch. If you were there, you saw it. A lot of people partook in it, of what they thought silver was going to close, if it would close above $54 an ounce this Friday. Now, I disagree with the 63% of those participants who voted in the poll that we will see silver close above $54 an ounce by this Friday. But I would say there's a massive victory that we can have if we see it stay and close above $50 an ounce by the end of the week, because that's solidifying what could potentially be a new floor for silver. That's right. A new floor of $50 an ounce. Now, at least that would argue the case for it. Does not mean that it's necessarily going to be there, but I think it could very well set the stage for it to possibly be something to consider down the road. Every day above $50, so we'll see what happens there. Now, the other market activity is that Bitcoin is down pretty dramatically again today. It's down 2% today to $91,675 per Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is continuing to get a hit, as well as the other cryptocurrencies out there. But the other thing we have to look at, too, is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's down over 1.1% today. The NASDAQ is down, and so is the S&P. The New York Stock Exchange as well, and other indices are also down. But the dollar index is up, and that is having a reflection here on the precious metal prices. So it's an interesting run here. But as we watch silver being priced in dollars, we know that the value proposition is far greater than any fiat currency could ever measure with regards to silver. But obviously, we do pay attention to price. We have to, because it's how we're going to either liquidate or buy our silver. But it's a fascinating time indeed, and we're going to continue to watch it. But I would love to see silver close above $50 every day this week and see. But I think, honestly, the very fact that we did close below that $50 or not close, but we saw that hit pretty hard earlier in the day below $50, and then recapture it is a victory. And that, to me, that's pretty amazing. And what else are we going to see here? We're going to see more data released. We're going to get a clearer picture once we get some of this information out. And I think that information very well could change the dynamic and calculus that could put all of this at risk. All of it, including my hope that we see silver close above $50 by Friday. It could all go by the wayside depending on how the minutes are interpreted from the last Fed meeting, and in terms of the market data that could really change the calculus of pretty much everything. And now here is what Kansas City Fed President Jeffrey Schmid said. that I don't think further rate cuts will have much effect in patching up cracks in the labor market. And so that's what he said, something that was fairly recent that he had mentioned there. So whatever these Fed governors say, people take note on. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing all these data and all of these the calculus change in terms of the probability. Data for October personal consumption expenditures, the Federal Reserve's preferred measure of inflation, will then be released on Wednesday as well. That's part of the other data that I mentioned earlier in the video. And then next week, that will be next week according to the Commerce Department. So that's what's happening there. But fascinating. Let me know what your thoughts are about silver, about how it's doing today. To me, we can take a victory lap knowing that we've got silver above $50 again, even though it has fallen just over 3/4 of a point now. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.